Hi, this is John, Flat 6 Motorsports. Today we're taking a look at the Cargraphic valve controller for the 992. Let's get into it. So Cargraphic makes a valve controller. They make it for a variety of Porsche platforms, including the 718, which is a very common modification, but they brought that technology to the 992. Now, this version in front of me fits the 992 Carrera and Turbo. There's also a different variant for the GT3 that uses a different valve actuator available, but they all install and function the exact same. If you're not familiar with Cargraphic, they're a German-based exhaust and performance company that specializes in Porsche and other European sports cars. So in front of me is the valve controller, and this is a plug-and-play device. It comes with the control unit and harnesses that plug in to the valve actuators, and also includes some key fobs so you can independently control the open or closing function of the exhaust. Now, you might not know, but Porsche, even with the PSE or the Porsche Sport exhaust, has the valves closing at 1,000 RPM to about 4,000 RPM, and that takes away a lot of the visceral sound experience of the 992 Carrera and Turbo. This solution allows you to open or close the valves 0 to 100%. So if you have them closed, they'll be completely closed like stock. And one thing you might not know is even at idle, the factory, when the Porsche Sport exhaust button is open, they do open, but they only open 20%. They don't open the full 100%. This allows you to open them 100%, so it's going to get you a lot nicer tone at idle. And I should also mention this works with the standard exhaust, Porsche Sport exhaust, or an aftermarket exhaust that leverages the factory valve actuators. This controller also gives you the ability to control what setting you want the car to start up in, whether you want those exhaust valves open or closed at startup. You can program that in. You can also program the open and close functions into the home link buttons that are located in the PCM. We're going to show you how to do that, so let's get into the install.
So today we have Project 992 in the shop, and we're going to go step by step through the install process of the Cargraphic valve controller. But first, to give you a quick overview of how the system is going to be installed, we're going to be putting the module on basically the upper driver side of the engine, and then the two lines, you have one going to be going down to the left actuator, and then you're going to be threading the other wire over to the right actuator. So let's get this car up and take a look at it. So the first step is going to be removing your oil fill cap and the coolant cap to make sure your car is cooled down enough that you can remove the cap without burning yourself. Next, we're going to be removing the cover that covers the engine bay fans. Once the cover is out of the way, we're going to go ahead and remove both of the engine bay fans. Go ahead and flip it over and slide back the little red tab, and then disconnect the connectors. Okay, so now that we have all the components that we need out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get into our installation. Now, for reference, we've removed the spoiler off the vehicle so that you can get a better idea of where these wires are actually running. You don't have to remove the spoiler for the actual installation, but this is a better way of showing you how these things are run. Okay, so to begin, we're going to start threading these wires around this coolant pipe right here. Now, there's a couple different options of where you can mount this controller. On this particular 992, it is optioned with the sound composer, as you can see by this pipe right here. Now, a lot of people have been installing their controller mounts on top of the alternator cover. We can't do that in this case. So for this installation, we're actually going to be using the Flat 6 non-invasive controller mount that we have here. That will be included with any purchase from us, and that'll mount that right over here out of the way, and that way you can return it back to stock at any point in time. All right, once we route the wires in there, you can see kind of where this is going to be mounting. So it'll be mounted right here. So we'll take a 10 millimeter, remove this screw, and then we'll be able to screw this right back in here. All right, and just like that, the controller is mounted up and out of the way, and it can be reversed at any point in time. No drilling, no damaging the cover, anything like that. Now that you have your wires threaded, you'll notice that there is a short line, and then there is a much longer line. Now, the short line is going to be going down to the driver's side valve actuator, which will be located straight down here. And then the longer line you can kind of just route right here. Now, this is all going to be underneath the spoiler, so you can just kind of tuck the wire down underneath there, and then you'll thread down on the passenger side. And once those wires are threaded, we'll go up underneath the car and we'll see where those connectors are at the valves. Okay, now that we've got our lines run, we're gonna be working on the driver's side first. This is the short line, and we are first gonna start with taking off the connector from the valve actuator here. All you have to do is pull out the little gray tab, and then you press down on that, and then pull the connector off. Next, we're gonna be taking that connector that you just pulled off, and we're gonna connect it into the female side of the line that you just dropped down, and plug it in, and then make sure to push in the gray tab. Once that's done, we're gonna take the male end of that line, and we're gonna plug that back into the actuator. Just like that. Make sure you push the gray tab back in. And there you have it. That's pretty much all that's involved with connecting it to your actuators. And then we'll go ahead and repeat that process on the other side. All right, now that I've got everything plugged in, if you need to, go ahead and tie back any excess wire with some zip ties, and we'll start putting this thing back together. So now that the system is installed, what we're gonna do is we're gonna assign the remote control. We have two buttons here, one for valve opening and one for returning back to stock or closing. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna assign each one of these buttons to a HomeLink profile through your PCM. So let's go ahead and do that. So no matter what menu you're currently in, you're gonna wanna go to the car menu first. Once in the car menu, you're gonna go to Control, then to Vehicle, and then to HomeLink Garage Door Opener. And once you're in there, it'll give you the option to start a new configuration. Go ahead and press that. Then you take your transmitter, press and hold button 1 while pointing at the PCM. Usually takes about 5 seconds. Now say add current position. We don't need to add a position, so go ahead and click don't add. And then you want to go ahead and enter a profile name. So for this one, we're going to we're going to go ahead and name it Valves Open. Hit OK. OK. And it gives you confirmation. So now you have a profile setting for Valves Open. We're going to go ahead and create a new one. Do the same process again. Now we're going to press button 2, press and hold, about 5 seconds. Okay, we're not going to add a position, and we're going to name this one. Go ahead and clear that out. We're going to call this Valves Closed. Okay, okay, okay. So now you can exit out of that screen. And once back into the settings screen, you can see the HomeLink profiles. Press on that, and you can see all your profiles. And so when you press on valves closed, that closes the valves. Valves open, opens the valves. And there you have it.
And driving around for a few days with this, you definitely notice a pretty significant difference, particularly in those low RPMs where the factory PSC still has valves closing. I think this is a really nice solution. It's plug and play, easy to install. It's a really nice solution for the folks out there that might not want to do an exhaust. They just want a little more noise, or maybe they're a little uneasy about the idea of an exhaust. And maybe this is a great starting point just to see if this checks the box for that person. The other person that might be very interested in this is somebody who doesn't want to tune the car. So the M Engineering Tune allows the same functionality, but if you don't want to tune your car, this is also a nice way to get full control of the valves, even with an aftermarket exhaust system. And part of the value we offer to customers, outside of just inventorying products, testing them, publishing results from them, is developing solutions. And one of the things that makes this install even easier, we developed a non-invasive controller mount. So it allows you to use a factory bolt. You just unfasten that bolt, put the mount on, fasten that bolt back together, and it makes it a very easy install process, keeps it all clean. You don't have to cut or drill or do anything like that. So that's a nice solution that we provide for free for anybody who orders this from us at flat6.com. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We have a 992 exhaust series highlighting different exhausts. We have the link over here. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Check us out at flat6.com. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.